definitely put it in the chat too. Or maybe I misinterpreted that, Charles. Okay. How do organizations/student orgs coordinate on events like the Berkeley High Black Lives Matter March last summer? Lyndon, I don't know if you want to speak first on that one.
Yeah, so actually the protests that happened over the summer, while they weren't directly organized by BSU, it was some of our members who got together and like, okay, this needs to happen. And some of the first steps to doing that is just to make sure, I think it's like 3-pronged. So there's advertisement, effective organizing, and also just commitment. You have to sort of be willing to commit long periods of time. And sort of my experience with like organizing anything like that is, okay, there's gonna have to be a meeting. So who are going to be the key individuals in sort of planning it. So you want to talk to them and get a solid plan together of times, location, and sort of your expected size of the event. Then afterwards, you're wanting to post it everywhere. So Instagram, flyers, emails, and keep emailing and keep emailing and keep checking your email. And you're going to have tons of missed emails, but you keep sending them out anyway. Then it's also just showing up when it happens, showing up no matter what you think might happen, just showing up. And then you can have those big things. That's kind of a simplified way of seeing it, but the first steps are definitely finding the key individuals you want to involve, why you want to do the organizing, and reaching out for that organizing.
Yeah, that was a really great explanation. I don't know if any other club leaders have anything to add. What is the best way to pass a club down and ensure continuation when you leave Berkeley High? Well, I've never had that experience yet, but I have thoughts about ways that would be good. I think like Lyndon and other people brought this up before of like kind of like being able to kind of like scout out people that you think are good and like seem passionate, and being able to kind of like make sure that you're like making them feel very supported in that role, and like kind of like acknowledging that you think that they would be good for that position. And I know like I've just seen this, there's a mixed org at UC Berkeley, and they've had like they change every semester. So I've seen how they did that poorly. And I think it also involves like kind of a communication in terms of like making sure that they have like if you had any events or like things like resources that you've already used, like agendas, like those things, making sure that you're also passing that down as well. Cause I think that's something I've seen with their org where it was just like they just every semester they would start completely new. They got no new paperwork. They had nobody who knew anything. And it was just like they were restarting every semester. But I don't know if anybody has actually like seen that transition and wants to answer that question.
Yeah. Shamila, our president last year, I think she's at I don't know where she's at right now. But she so the way she like passed like the club, like I was her VP last year, so she kind of like gave me like access to like past presentations and like ideas of like the kind of stuff that I can do this year. And like over the summer I just kind of like started working on like I just like came up with an idea of like what I want to do, like what my personal goal for my club was. And then from then on, like it was just a matter of like choosing a leader, like getting a leadership team. And so basically like we held elections for like the like email list that we had, and then we just kind of like had that, and then we started planning our meetings. And then from then on we just kind of like kept going with that. So it's just like the club leaders like right now in the space, I guess it's just a matter of just being able to pass ideas and just like give insight and advice on how to lead a club for the next, I don't want to say generation because that makes us feel old, but for the next round of leaders, I guess, for your club. So yeah.
For APIC this year, Amanda and I made sure to choose a leadership board that had a lot of juniors, and we even have like a freshman on there because she was interested and she was enthusiastic about taking up a role with the club. So we allowed her to do it even though she was completely new to the club. And that's something that I think clubs should start doing, like incorporate more underclassmen, definitely. And also, if you're a club leader, don't do all the work. Just like give people other work to do. Like you can start with the lower level stuff and then move up as they become more experienced, but just don't put all of that just on you. And another tip that I think is useful is like having an email specifically for the club that you can pass on to other club leaders. So then all of like the presentations and like the docs that you make don't get lost with your like students.berkeley.net account and stuff like that.
Yeah, adding on to that, Pema, our old president or past president, she gave us access to our like the Google or APIC Google Drive and our email, which is what we use for like our main of communication. Um, our slides and all our info and that stuff is on there, which is very helpful and a good way to organize. And I forgot what else I was gonna say, but yeah.
Oh, there was one question that Zephyr asked, which I think is really cool. How are you guys handling this year? Like the club, being club leaders this year as seniors, for the seniors here. Yeah, that's a good question.
I can sort of answer both questions, I think. So a bit of backstory about our club. It actually began, I would say, about 3 years ago. And for the reasons why we consider it to have begun about a year ago is because 2 years ago it had the issue of, as someone said, as the leaders would, the two people at the top, the co-presidents, would take care of the whole club, meaning that the rest of the people were just considered members. So that issue led on to not having someone to be passed down the staff of continuing the club. So this year and last year, what we've been doing in the club to make sure that that doesn't happen again is to not only have a board of leaders, meaning multiple people that work together for every event, but also allow all the students within the club to be part of making the events and planning the events. So despite not being the treasurer, despite not being the vice president, despite being not being the president, you can still promote events or even plan them on your own. Most of the time there hasn't been the situation of them planning on their own because we help them with it, but them coming up with the ideas is what we want and what we want to see within our students so that they can then continue on the club and continue its the help that it gives to the students at Berkeley High. And as a senior right now, the way we're handling it is I think obviously the big question is, how are you handling it with work and all that and school homework and any of our side projects. So I think as a senior, I may have, like a lot of you have a lot of work, but the club kind of takes a position where I know I need to take care of the club, then I can do stuff that are for myself because the club is for people other than myself and that depend on me continuing it. So that's where I put their importance over my own benefit.
Yeah, I think that was very articulate. Well said. Everyone's like so articulate. Love it. Except for me. No, I'm not gonna say that. No self-deprecation. What was I gonna say? Oh, about being seniors. I think a lot of the club leaders can probably agree that there's kind of like this sense of like wanting to get like all your goals done and like kind of like figuring out like what do you need to do this year in order to like feel like you've accomplished everything that you can like feel like you did what you wanted to as a senior and like with your club before you have transition. So I think that has definitely motivated us to do probably a lot more than we normally would do because there's kind of like a sense of wanting to get everything done before you leave. But I think it's going pretty well, and I think it's been pretty fun, and I'm definitely like enjoying working with Desiree. And I think even though it's all online, like there's still people showing up. And like during the summer, because it was all virtual, we had a lot more things that we could organize over the summer. So that was really cool to see. There's definitely like different bits and pieces where it's still like benefits of kind of having virtual clubs.
Yeah.
To sort of, yeah, go ahead, Tara.
Okay, so for me, so you know, obviously like when you're a senior, you have to go through like the college application process. Um and for my own experience, so I'm the president of MSA and co-pres of NESB with Lyndon. Um and it is like really hard to be like in like to be able to be a part of both clubs. So and so basically at some point, like I think like the college application process like became less stressful than like my clubs, like the things I had to do for my clubs, which is a problem. And like because the thing is like, you know, your clubs, they don't end until the year ends, but the college app process ends like your first semester. So it's like that whole like mentality kind of like it like even after the college app process was done for me, was done, I still was pretty like my mind was pretty occupied throughout like the times. And so I say like what I'm trying to get at is that like don't over like I feel like don't ever like stress yourself, I guess, and also just be able to like being able to I learned how to do that and being able to like time manage better as well. Like don't over but double book yourself. And yeah, so I've kind of learned those two lessons.
Yeah, I was just gonna say to answer both questions of like how is being a senior and how do you sort of continue your club. It's definitely hard. Like as a senior, you feel like you need to invest like all your time into your club. That's just not manageable. So it's like sort of two things. You want to create projects that are bigger than yourself, so they sort of pour into next year, and that the next year's club sort of has something to start with, like whether that's a kickstart event or some type of project, but making something that's bigger than yourself. But also as a senior, to kind of know like while I may be the head of one or two clubs, to sort of pull myself away so the club doesn't really become reliant on me, but they can be autonomous on their own. So it's kind of balancing those two things. And also, like Suhaira said, I think at one point managing the clubs and everything like that was a little more hectic than the application process, which is an interesting thing if I think about. But yeah, it's still been really fun to do that. So that's always a plus.